Minecraft is an incredible game, but one of its most interesting and fascinating parts is, of course, the numerous dimensions which exist within the game. They're all so very unique and jaw-dropping. The overworld, the nether, and the end. But over the past few years, there has been so many calls by the community for a new Ender revamp, especially after the 1.16 nether update. But in this video, we're going to be talking about how Mojang could possibly be foreshadowing another end update right now. If you would love to see this done as a part of Minecraft 1.20, drop the video a like. But with that being said, let's get right into it. Now everyone, you may be thinking, how on earth is Mojang foreshadowing another end update? But before we get into that and all of this information, we need to talk about where this all began and why the community is so desperate for this right now. And it all begins with 1.16. We all know this by now as the nether update. It was so incredible, and I would argue it saved Minecraft. Do not get me wrong, Mojang was doing very good with the game. Minecraft was not in trouble in any way. It's not like the game was losing fans, but the game at the time was so very stagnant. It was not really drawing in many new players. Of course, it was growing as usual. It was doing well. People love Minecraft, but it was not anything special. But then came the 1.16 nether update, which completely revitalized the game and basically strapped it to a rocket jetpack and blasted it into the atmosphere, because the impact this update had on the game was insane. Just as a bit of a fun fact, the nether update is what actually inspired me to start my YouTube channel, which is pretty cool. But it also inspired many people to do the same. PewDiePie around this time also started making Minecraft videos, and so many other countless people. This update is going to be remembered, I believe, as one of the biggest and greatest ever Minecraft updates of all time, not only because of the new content it brought to the game, but because of how it brought the community together and the impact it had as a whole. Now, this is really what inspired the Minecraft End Update 3.0 theory. Just in case you do not know, we've had quite a few end updates in the past. We of course got the 1.9 update, which brought it to the game in the first place. We got the combat update and a few other changes to the dimension, but what people want now is for the end to get the same treatment as the nether did in 1.16. and there's one key quote which I've really not been able to find for quite a long time, but I remember very clearly. It was said by a Mojang developer who was actually talking about the fact that they do not want to add any new dimensions to Minecraft until they are 100% happy with the current ones. By this they mean they will not add anything like an Aether dimension, a Sky dimension, or anything new until they are at a point where they're happy with the end and the nether. Of course, in 1.16 we got a completely huge nether overhaul, but many people would argue that the end right now is in a very sorry state. It's very underwhelming. There's a huge lack of content, and overall, there's just very little to do in the dimension, and this is one of the key reasons people think there will be another end update. I think it's very hard to argue against the point that Mojang are not going to do this. I really think it is very likely that Mojang have got something planned for the end at least. I think it's very hard to argue that Mojang are not planning something like this, especially with the world update also kind of being a smaller update to tide us over. This just makes many people believe even more that the next big update Mojang have got planned is going to be something huge to do with the end. Just think of all the countless possibilities they could do for the end. New armor, new mobs, new biomes, just new loot. It would be incredible. But let's now get to the meat of the video, the main point, and that is Mojang foreshadowing an an end update, and personally I believe they are. As I said, they've said many mysterious and cryptic things in the past, like they do not want to add any new dimensions until they're happy with the current ones. That's obviously a very popular thing that Mojang have said, but there's also something a lot more recent, and by that I mean very recent. If we look at this new concept art and prototype footage of the Warden, if you look very closely at this image, it looks that this interesting animated texture is actually very similar, if not the exact same, as the texture displayed in the end portal. Because of this, many people have been led to believe that this is some kind of foreshadowing at something big coming to the end dimension, and I saw many people commenting in my previous videos that this is not the case, especially when I very quickly mentioned this theory. Let me just expand upon this and explain why I and many other people do believe this. Now, when the Warden was even first initially released and we got our first ever look at the mob in 2020 along with Skulk, many people did draw the similarities between this mob and the end. It just feels very similar. It almost reminds us as the Eyes of Ender or the Void. It just all kind of feels similar and ties together. But especially when we got a look at this early prototype art, it's clear that Mojang was kind of inspired by the end, or they wanted to kind of portray the end in this mob. Why would they do that if it had nothing to do with it? Why would Mojang want to portray the end in the Warden if it had nothing to do with the dimension? It just does not make sense. So I believe with the fact of how the Warden is a very strong boss and how it was originally meant to have end portal textures on it, and how originally Skulk looked a bit more different, I believe that it is hard to argue against this. And of course, this is just heavy speculation right now, but I just think it's kind of cool and fun to believe this rumour that Mojang have got something planned to do with the end. I just think it's very fun to believe that Mojang have got something planned. But yeah, that's it for this one, everyone. Let me know your thoughts down below. Thanks for watching and goodbye.